Big Monday night matchup. We had Calvin Watkins from ESPN Dallas on before talking Cowboys. Now is our chance to talk Bears. Jay Cutler has not been consistent all year. He's now playing a team that loves to rush that passer. How does Jay Cutler survive tonight and end up helping the Bears win?
Well, Jay Cutler has been successful on Monday Night Football as of late. He's won 4 of his 5 last starts. Last year, his last loss coming against Detroit. This year, he's had a rough start. You saw in Indianapolis, he had some success, but the last 2 weeks, he's really struggled. I think a lot of that has to do with his receivers not getting separation. Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, a rookie who hasn't really stepped up the past couple weeks, and especially the slot receiver, Earl Bennett. The offensive line can use some help, and I think Kellen Davis and Matt Spaeth are going to be being called upon to really help and bring some protection, especially on the left side with Jamarcus Webb.
So this is going to be, let's talk about Webb for a second. Last week, Cutler was just all kinds of upset at Webb. He got in his face. How did that go there in Chicago? Were people happy that Jay stepped up, or were they like, you should be calling Webb out?
Well, there's a lot of people that don't like that side of Jay where he pushes players around and really gets upset where he makes those facial expressions on the field and off the field as well where they get caught by the cameras. But Jay's a tough player. He's a confident quarterback, and he's going to bounce back. And he expressed his feelings about Webb during the week on the radio and in press conferences. And he said he probably shouldn't have shoved him, but he did have a word with him, and I think that was the right thing to do.
Okay, so getting back to your point, we think that Kellen Davis and Matt Spaeth, the tight ends, we shouldn't be looking for them to go out in the field. They're going to have to stay back, pass protect to keep Cutler on his feet.
Well, Spaeth especially is specifically a blocking tight end. Every now and then he'll get a catch. Kellen Davis is probably going to be looked upon to stretch the middle of the field a little bit where the Cowboys aren't so great and get some catches. But the key really is, without fullback Evan Rodriguez, they're going to be using tight end Kyle Adams, second-year tight end, and he'll be back there providing some blocking for Cutler, and that could be a make-or-break point there with Adams back there.
Now, do you have any late word on Matt Forte? Do the Bears expect him to play tonight? If you're a fantasy owner, would you tell them to roll with Forte, or would you play conservatively and go with Michael Bush?
Well, Bush is 100%, and Forte was limited in practice on Saturday. Lovie Smith came out yesterday and didn't want to really reveal if Forte is ready to go. I'm sure later today we'll find out. But running backs coach Tim Spencer pretty much made it sound like he's good to go. If I'm a fantasy owner, I don't know. I think that they're going to try to limit his snaps. Maybe if he's playing 10 to 15 rushes, a couple receptions, I think Bush is probably the play tonight.
All right, so let's go to the wide receivers, because this is where they've been struggling. Brandon Marshall has not been able to – he's had a lot of drops in key situations. He's getting Brandon Carr covering him. How is that matchup? Is this the key matchup on the outside there for the Bears?
Yeah, it's certainly the key matchup, and most of the receivers going against these corners, especially Morris Claiborne, he's going to be matching up with Jeffrey and Bennett most times. But Marshall, he actually had some success last week against St. Louis against one of the best corners in the league, Cortland Finnegan, and you saw him struggle in Green Bay with that huge drop that he had on Thursday Night Football. But, Marshall's got to step up. Cutler's going to throw it his way no matter what, because those two guys have a great connection. And I think Marshall's going to have a pretty decent game, but he's going to have to step up for the Bears to really have a chance to win tonight.
Now, Jeffrey on the other side against Claiborne, this is a battle of SEC guys. Does one guy have an advantage over the other, or is this just a 50-50 split and Jeffrey's going to have to do what he can against Claiborne?
I think exactly what you said. Jeffrey's going to have to do what he can against Claiborne. Claiborne is a great cornerback. He was the number 6 pick for a reason. And Jeffrey's going to have to step up just as much as Marshall. But a lot of the middle of the field stuff is going to be where the Bears are going to have success. If Marshall can really reel in some catches, and he'll open things up for Bennett, Hester, and the tight end Kellen Davis in the middle of the field.
So basically, you would say the key to the Bears' offense tonight will be Earl Bennett in the middle, connecting with Jay Cutler. If they can control the middle of the field, they've got a shot.
Yeah, Bennett over the last couple of years has been the most reliable receiver, but so far this year, he's struggled. He's struggled a bit, especially against Green Bay. 3 of the 4 picks were thrown to Bennett's way. So Bennett's another guy who can bounce back. But Marshall and Jeffrey on the outside, they need to take pressure off of Cutler, and they need to help him and get those catches on the outside.
Jake, let's take a look at the other side of the ball. The Bears, the Cowboys have had an inconsistent running game, but they've got a lot of weapons in the passing game. Miles Austin, Des Bryant, Kevin Ogletree, Jason Witten. Who does Charles Tillman cover tonight out there?
I think Tillman is going to switch up matching up with Des Bryant for most of the night and Miles Austin. But Tim Jennings, he's been really the best corner. I mean, Tillman has no picks on the year, but he has a forced fumble, and he's been really consistent. He was banged up earlier in the first game, but he's done a great job. Tim Jennings leads the league in interceptions with 4, which already doubles his amount last year. So I think you're going to see a mixture of both of those guys matching up with Des Bryant and Miles Austin. And the nickelback, DJ Moore, would likely match up with Kevin Ogletree.
By the way, I agree with you on Tim Jennings. He may be the best defensive back that I've seen play this year. He is and he tackles beautifully. He's a short guy, but when he lays it down on you, boom, you go down right away.
Yeah, and the funny thing about him is the Bears, he was an unrestricted free agent this offseason, and he really didn't draw a lot of interest from other teams. And the Bears brought him back for $3 million a season for the next 2 years, and they demoted him at the end of last year, and he didn't even look like he was actually going to project into the lineup until training camp rolled around, and he had a great training camp. He looked exactly like what he's doing this year, where he's making huge plays and really in those big interceptions.
Now, what about getting to Tony Romo? I think Tony Romo is slightly overrated myself. How do the Bears get to Tony Romo?
Well, the Cowboys and Bears are similar teams in that aspect. Both teams, they have shaky offensive lines, and both their quarterbacks really like to roll out of the pocket. Romo, his offensive line, there's a lot of guys that have changed positions, pretty much every guy. They have a backup center in there. And the Bears, they're ranked first right now. They have 14 sacks on the year, 8 sacks coming from their defensive ends. And they're going to just have to keep doing that to get to Romo. They're going to have to get pressure from Peppers. They're going to have to get pressure from Henry Melton, the defensive tackle, and the rookie, Shea McClellan. He's stepped up as of late, and those guys are just going to have to keep bringing pressure, because if not, Romo's just going to attack the middle of the field where Urlacher is.
All right, I always like to ask these questions, Jake. The Bears will win tonight if?
Bears will win tonight if Matt Forte plays and has 90 yards rushing.
The Bears will lose tonight if?
The Bears will lose tonight if Jay Cutler throws 3 or more interceptions.
Yeah. Now, which one is more likely? That's the question.
I don't really see Cutler struggling that much to say. I don't think he's going to throw 3 interceptions, maybe 1 or 2. But Forte getting 90 yards would be a stretch for him because of his health right now. And I think if he got 90 yards, that would open a lot of stuff up for the Bears.
Absolutely. We'll be looking forward to that tonight. Thank you, Jake, for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, that was Jake Perper from BearsBacker.com doing a great job analyzing tonight's Monday night matchup, the Bears against the Cowboys.